Welcome to the NPA on NPH.
Okay, we've recovered from that LBA Crestwood thriller where we guessed that Franco Miller had dropped his second 30-point game of the day. We were correct, exactly 30 points. A smooth 60-point day for one Franco Miller. And now for the final game of the day, we got Halifax Prep taking on the Toronto Basketball Academy. TBA playing their second game of the day.
I'd say that's a pretty good day at the office for Franco Miller. A cool 60 points in 2 games, averaging 30.
Yeah, but did he buy coffee? You don't show up without coffee. Battling from behind. Halifax Prep in the home whites. And look out. Little transition slam. Tarek Issa, the Carleton University commit. Nice move through the lane there from Julius McKee.
Halifax Prep, the lack of size, and it's vastly apparent. I think your best chances, man, I don't even know. I mean, you gotta figure out something, whether you're gonna play zone and you're gonna say, okay, let's dare you to shoot the ball, but you just can't give up a profound size advantage inside, and you just can't, because you can't afford to lose the rebounding battle. If you lose the rebounding battle, then the game itself is likely gonna be over.
Gonna need all those shots to drop, that's for sure. Ty Murgnahan couldn't get it to go. Marcus Masters getting the roll. And if those are dropping for TBA, it's going to be a long night at the office for Halifax Prep.
And that was way too easy for Marcus Masters. If you saw there, it was, I believe, Jaron Johnson who was backing up and just on his back foot the whole way through. And if anything, you just gotta you have to apply some pressure there. You have to try to fight over the screen, and it's just way too easy.
In transition, Amir Golizade, no good. Ryan Toney brings it down. Going back the other way. Nice pass right into the pocket of Julius McGee, but he can't get it to go. Nice good defense.
Good defensive play.
Clean strip. Pull-up jumper. There you go, Julius McGee.
And earlier this evening or afternoon, we saw the other Maritimes team in action, that being RNS. Tightly contested affair. They dropped that ball game to Beast Prep. The Maritimes well represented in the NPA, and Halifax Prep in their inaugural season, trying to make the transition, trying to develop and build a program that they hope will, of course, have some longevity and some sustainable success.
Really, this Halifax Prep squad trying to build their program along the same lines as RNS, knowing that the first season is going to be pretty tough for them, but they jump-started a little bit by bringing in a couple of out-of-province players to try to keep things moving.
And we talked about it earlier in the stream when we were in our broadcast for that RNS game, and going winless last year, coming in, they already have a couple wins in this young season, and it's a process. And we talked extensively about building credibility. There's a shot clock violation. It's going to take time. There's no doubt about it. It's going to take time. You're going to need to exercise a fair bit of patience. But you want to bring in players that are committed to developing and believe in what you have to offer. And this is a young coaching staff too. That's something else that I think,
youngest in the league.
You want to take that into consideration and make of it what you will. But it works. It plays. It can play to your advantage, or it can be a disadvantage. It all depends on how you look at it.
Head coach Marcus Eaton calling a timeout now, getting the troops together. Take a quick break, down 4 in the early going.
rep by rep. You push yourself. Effort is only half the battle. Doubt sets in. Why do you do it? Is it worth it? The lights turn on. All your questions are answered.
Back live, Toronto Basketball Academy looking to pick up 2 wins on this day, much like Crestwood just did.
A successful day for the host Crestwood Lions, 2-0, behind a couple of monstrous performances from Franco Miller, and then the superhero Jacoby Neath showing up in the clutch in that tight contest against LBA.
Cairo Berry finds Ryan Toney, the leading scorer on this squad. That is Ryan Toney pointing out his boys. That's him saying hello to his brother back home in the Eskasoni First Nation, making sure the Mi'kmaq are represented.
Shooting it with conviction. Didn't hesitate, decided to pop it, and why not? Wearing some beautiful kicks as well. Those Jordans. I like those light blue Jordans.
This game of basketball does a lot of special things for a lot of kids, and Ryan Toney's one of those guys that's going to try to use it.
I like seeing a guy like that
Heads
succeed,
up.
you know? It doesn't take much for a guy to endear himself to me. The shoes, the shot.
And you're good.
I'm in. I'm already in. Hook, line, and sinker. Excuse the pun.
Marcus Masters.
Oh.
Looks good in the first game today.
Yeah, he's a master at that, that's for sure.
McGee, little hesitation dribble.
McGee's got some. He's got some game, that's for sure.
Moon 2. Ryan Toney trying to out-jump.
One of the things I did notice with Marcus Masters in that first game, I thought he was kind of freezing the ball a little bit too much, and so far in this one, he's been exploding to the basket and making plays. I think, yes, they picked up the win in that game against GTA Prep, but by no means was it a flawless performance or even one that would have made, I think, the coaching staff proud in terms of when you look at the way they were. It was a very sloppy affair, and I felt like there were opportunities for them. It could have been a more convincing win, that's for sure.
Munto with the steal. Goes right back at it. Munto out of Calgary, Alberta. Forcing a timeout for TBA. It's the little things for this Halifax Prep squad. They're happy. They just put together a little bit of a run to cut the lead down to 3. We'll be back after a short break.
We've traveled across the country and back. 6 years running. Canada's basketball talent blossoms right before our eyes. From coast to coast. It's our job to bring it to the light. No gimmicks, just hard work on the hardwood. Who will step up to the plate this summer? Who will make their game undeniable and challenge every man in front of him? Game will speak. We've traveled.
Halifax Prep facing a 3-point deficit against TBA. One of their best players for Halifax Prep, Jaron Johnson, on the sidelines trying to work out an injury to his left arm that happened just minutes into this one. That would be an incredibly costly loss to this Halifax Prep squad that traveled 15 hours to get here for this session. Already undermanned due to some travel delays for some guys that they've just added to this team.
It'd be a huge loss for them. He's a sharpshooter. He's a guy who can stretch the floor. He's a guy who can, do it on both ends. And we saw a glimpse of that early on in this game before he exited with the injury. But hope to see him re-enter at some point. He's being tended to by the medical staff.
Taking a look at him, Johnson, impressive for this team. Can get it done at the point guard spot, can score it from that position as well.
And we were talking earlier, Jason, during the broadcast with RNS and Beast Prep, how, Beast Prep at their first game this morning against Crestwood kind of played some uninspiring basketball. But, I watched TBA and it kind of gives me the same feeling. I don't know what it is. There's some grit, there's a lot of talent, but it just, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's more of a hunch, more of a personal feeling, I guess. Just something that doesn't click for me.
I would say this is a team that plays down to its competition.
That's fair.
I'd say it's not a team. It's a team that, and probably truthfully can get by on their skill without having to, as the kids say, turn up. But I think you'll see it. They probably will if they see this game hanging in the balance still in the second half. But, on the other side of things, this Halifax prep team has an awful lot of pride. They're playing for their own pride. They're playing for Halifax. They're playing for the Maritimes. I mentioned Ryan Toney. He's playing for an entire tribe back home in Eskasoni. There's a lot of individual stories on this team that, every one of them are playing with pride, and, they're going to be undermanned. They're a first-year squad. They kind of got a late start to it, picked up the pieces and got it together. So, there's always, as a first-year franchise, there's always going to be growing pains. I think we're all kind of pulling for this squad because, from Meg Falarin, who runs things out back in Halifax Prep, to the young head coaching squad here, every one of them are doing it for the right reasons.
Totally agree. And the one thing that I think we need to point out is how sports, not just basketball, but sports in general, has the ability to really transcend barriers and unite so many people. It's just a source of bonding, a source of identification, and it means so many different things to so many different people, and it really is a great thing to see this Halifax prep program off the ground, and you absolutely want to see them succeed.
Chad Vincent.
Chad Vincent seems like a veteran these days.
Yeah, he really does.
Been around the block a few times, as Mike Dotto nods his head.
Muntu. Rousseau back to Muntu. If Jaron Johnson's on that sidelines for much longer, they're going to need Muntu to get it going offensively. Toney with the steal, takes the pass.
That's the question. Where's the offensive production going to come from? And on cue, you get a bucket there. That's what they need. They need somebody to step up.
Oh, Toney and Muntu are the two guys that can get their own offense. You got a lot of other guards out there that can shoot the ball.
Good pass. Good vision. That's an excellent play. Halifax Prep hanging tight.
Absolutely. Getting after it. Nice move once again. Vincent might have took steps. According to my broadcast partner.
Boy. I thought
his eyes on it.
I thought he earned some air miles there.
Again, it's Jason Tom here alongside Daniele Franceschi.
Yes, sir.
Muntu can't finish. 1:15 to go. Johnson looking to check back into this game.
We'll see how he responds.
Ooh.
He was on the sidelines there for a while, being tended to by the medical personnel, and Now checking back in. He just does so much for this Halifax prep team, and it really kind of drives the ship, so to speak.
Tough pass to try to thread the needle.
That was a great defensive play there by Johnson. Oh, and he's not afraid to hoist.
No.
Left hand. Good finish.
The Sevens down just 3. They get it back.
Well, this Halifax team made that 15-hour voyage, and they certainly didn't do it for any reason. They're coming here to win.
And TBA is not a team that often plays twice in a day. We see a lot of teams that do. Kind of getting that feeling off that side of the floor, but I'll tell you this.
You can see there's no energy.
No, but I mean, if they end up losing this game, not saying they will, but if they do, it would be one of the biggest upsets. It would be the biggest upset in MPA history, I'll be completely honest with you. Last year at Nationals, you know, we had like a bit of LBA knocking off TBA, probably would have been an upset as well. But not of this magnitude.
Certainly not of this magnitude.
Brandon Muntu with a rainmaker. Confidence is a dangerous thing, and the Sevens have it right now. But Golizade with a silencer, pushing the lead up to 5 through the first quarter. Stay with us. We'll be back. 10 minutes are in the books.
Pangos from straight away. Hit another 3. His 6th of the first half.
I think the biggest thing about Kevin, highly skilled, but his values are very, very solid. Home-schooled value sort of thing. His grandparents taught him a lot. His uncle taught him a lot. Bill and Patty, his parents, obviously played a huge role, and he's very, very value-based. Everybody that you talk to that played with Kevin or coached Kevin will tell you exactly the same thing. Just a great kid, very, very grounded, never got full of himself, always works hard and wants more and more and more.
And now Pangos from straight away. Hit another 3. His 6th of the first.
I think the biggest thing about Kevin.
Back out to Pangos. Got it again. Pangos is knocking out all these open threes.
Kevin and I have a relationship that was formulated when I was one of the coaches at Camp Olympia that he could talk to and he could relate to, and we'd do workouts together, whatever it might be. And then it evolved into the admiration of he knew that I knew where he wanted to go. But I was one of those coaches that we're at another level that Kevin was after, and he could get.
Brandon Muntu inbounding. Tries to find Kizandre Smith. Couldn't get on the same page.
Before we headed to break, we talked about how confidence is a dangerous thing and can certainly be contagious. I think the first few minutes of this quarter are going to be crucial for this Halifax prep team, because we're going to find out what type of resolve they have and if they're going to be able to fight and continue to battle.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this, just from this first quarter, I mean, they had a tough schedule in Ottawa, and I mean, like we said, the size that they're giving up, they're going to have a tough skid anywhere they go, but hanging within 5 against a TBA squad who, you know, is top 3 in this league is going to be a bit of a win for this team. Just to, you know, you take it quarter by quarter really at this point, and the fact, the size that they're giving up and what they're trying to find out, they're going to come out of this game better, just like the 4 losses that they had as well. In Ottawa, they came out of that a better squad, being able to learn from it, and it's the same as right now.
You're looking for small, attainable objectives. You're trying to establish what those are and then go out and achieve them. And one thing I do admire, and I mean, even you watch the way that this coaching staff operates, and you're seeing it, you know, simple stuff like defensive rotations. They made, you know, there were instances in that first quarter where
Brandon
you look
Moon
at,
too.
as the layup is good, when you look at even TBA scored a few occasions, but the rotation was there, and the coaching staff is praising their players for being in the right spot.
I just got to take a timeout right here and point out that we got a 7-footer on TBA right here, taking on this squad. And I mean, Halifax Prep is sending everybody they can at this guy. Ryan Toney tried to make a move before he had the ball in his hands.
One thing I would say though is, in that situation, how do you leave a guy that wide open?
No, well, yeah. I again,
He lost the handle,
yeah. But I mean, this is what I'm.
Oh yeah.
And it's the laugh Ryan Toney just had with his coach saying, "Gonna do my best, coach." Like, what can you do? And the other thing is, I mean, Ryan Toney, you need him on the floor. He needs to be one of your scorers as well. So he can't just pick up needless fouls either.
No, you do what you can. You try to be physical. You try to make sure he doesn't, you don't let him get inside position. You do your best to keep him out of the paint. And if anything, make him earn it. Send him to the foul line. Make him earn it. Don't, you don't want to give up any easy baskets.
But at the same time, you got 9 guys on your squad. You can't pick up too many fouls. I mean, there's no surprise. You look down the roster, like Ryan Toney's a top 5 scorer in this league.
I don't think the officials are going to call him.
No, well, yeah, good call.
I think we're good. I think we're safe.
Yeah. But again, it's all about making memories. I hate to, sound too dramatic about it, but I mean, this team is enjoying the opportunity to come to Toronto to play teams like this. They've seen TBA on the live stream. Anytime there's a matchup in our MPA regular season, Marcus Eaton, the head coach of Halifax Prep's the first guy to ask me, how do I watch this game? And he's a young coach. I mean, the kid's I think he's only 28 years old.
He's trying to learn.
Exactly. And that's what's exciting to be a part about the MPA, is growing this game across Canada. Nice two-handed slam, Patrick Emelian gliding in for 2. And that's why I jumped at the opportunity to be a part of this league, because it's an opportunity. Sure, Halifax Prep isn't a team that is going to be able to hang with every team that they play in the NPA. But I mean, they're growing something out there in Halifax, and they're going to grow better, and these players are going to grow better.
You got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line.
It's the whole chicken before the egg. What, you're going to wait until they become great players before you give them an opportunity to play high-level basketball? How are they going to become great players if they don't play at this high level? So, I mean, here's a perfect example. Brandon Muntu, we were talking, out of Calgary. He makes the decision to go from Calgary, where they don't have prep program, to go out all the way to Halifax to play, because he can train with Ming Falarin out there, who has something good going on, and he gets to be the guy on this team.
And that's a referendum on the program, right? Having a guy who is willing to uproot himself, go to school elsewhere, in what might be a completely foreign community, to make that decision at this age is huge. And you go over there, and the decision itself is a referendum on what the program represents, and just how symbolic it is.
And talking to the guys here at Halifax Prep, Marcus Eaton, what he said is, a lot of guys from Halifax don't leave Halifax. So they, the only opportunity they'll have to play high level is the few months out of the year when they play their provincial team.
Absolutely.
And how many guys is that? And at the same time, if you have an opportunity to bring guys in from other provinces, it's going to make you better because you're taking them on in practice, right? Ryan Toney bringing down the defensive rebound. TBA has pushed this lead out to 13.
One of the things I would like to see nullified, and I don't know, maybe I'm off base, but as the layup is good, but this provincial divide, the fact that we have provincial championships when it comes to basketball, and I believe it's every summer where we have different age levels competing, and it's, Ontario has been very, very good, but we've seen Manitoba do very well. But one thing, I just, I feel like it to a certain extent, if anything, it kind of segments the whole system, right? Like I think there's, and we talk about the same thing same way we talk about Quebec as having, the CEGEP system and it being a different system there's, some uniformity would be I think would be very valuable. And you see it in the United States. The one thing with the high school community, the best teams play the best teams. You have interstate competition, you have non-conference competition, you have interleague competition, you have all these different levels of competition. And if you play at your level, play at your level. But at the end of the day, it puts you in a position, I think, to be successful, and there's a sense of uniformity. Whereas here, we have instances when if you watch a high school game or an MPA game, the rules and the shot clock and all this might not be the same. So why can't we have some sort of holistic, uniform kind of experience and a way of improving our players? That's what I feel, at least.
And the pushback to change is almost always so strong. And more often than not, the pushback is stronger than the push to change. And that's why so many things get stopped. And a lot of times funding comes into it, and provincial regulations. And so it's just easier to say, no, can't be done. And I feel like that's kind of what we run into a lot of the times. Again, that's why I was so excited to be part of the NPA, because it was an opportunity. Like, obviously, there's things that need to be worked on. There's things that need to improve. But again, you have to start somewhere. And we started it last year by crowning the first ever national champion at the high school age level, and I was so proud to be a part of that, because that is historic in Canadian basketball history.
Spoke to Leo Routens recently, and obviously Leo, broadcaster for Toronto Raptors, played in the NBA and started at St. Mike's back in the day. His son's currently in the prep system. His youngest son, Sam. Andy having gone through the whole Canadian landscape.
Tearing it up in Turkey right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Having gone to Syracuse. But he talked about how there's a need, and the MPA is providing it. There's a need for a national prep circuit, like a one cross-country system that enables all these kids to be filtered through the same process, to have a holistic experience that will enable them to reach their highest level possible. And it may not be playing prep or playing college or whatever the case may be, but you want to put yourself, do whatever you can and give everybody an opportunity. And that was something that really caught my eye speaking to him a couple of months ago.
And we're talking about this on the boys' side. You talk about the girls' side as well. I mean, our girls' basketball on the national level, I mean, arguably, especially at the freshman level right now, arguably we have better girls in the freshman class. And our boys are doing great, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying, like, Shayna Pellington is absolutely tearing it up for Oklahoma right now, and nobody is talking about her. And she is tearing it up down there as a freshman.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
At a storied school.
The girls program, the women's program here in Canada, and then provincially across the board, there's been tremendous growth, and almost, I think, exponentially, you've seen these girls have. I mean, it's just tremendous to see how much how it's evolved to the point where it is now. And at a national level, we've seen the program be very successful as of late. And obviously on the boys' side, there's, a lot of optimism. But the girls deserve just as much credit, just as much recognition, because they've done a tremendous job. And speaking of, a Canadian superstar on the female side, I mean, I had the opportunity to watch Kia Nurse play last week when she came down to Ryerson University, and it was her homecoming game playing Duquesne, and just on a whole different level, and just as impressive to watch as any male basketball player. And I speak with the utmost sincerity and as genuine as possible with that.
Julius McGee trying to get it cooking. Muntu has found his range in this game. Couldn't get that one to go. Masters to Vincent. Masters again. No good. Poking it loose, Ryan Toney.
Outlet. Come on. Ah, man. Well, TBA, you can see it's just kind of going through the paces, walking through it. Yeah, just going through the motions at the moment.
Vincent skying in for that offensive board. .220 to go here. 15-point lead for TBA. Ryan Toney letting loose. Moonchu comes down with the board. The lumber laid out there.
And one more thing on the girls' front. I think that's the next step is something comparable to what we have here, and establishing a circuit that not only provides exposure for these girls, but also continues to grow the game. And I think that's the next phase. And we've seen the OSBA now introduce the whole girls sector, and that's fantastic. And we've seen a lot of growth from year 1 to year 2, and this year being year 2. And there's a lot of new teams, a lot of new fresh faces, and it's going to take time. And nobody's saying that it's perfect or that it's going to be fantastic. It's going to take time. There's going to be a lot of ugly basketball, but I think that's the next step. Is establishing something comparable to what we have here with the boys circuit, getting an MPA, girls side of things going on, so that we give opportunities to all the great female ballers out there.
And in talking to a lot of top girls coaches, I think their top priority was saying, it's strange because the one thing the girls' side is lacking is exposure, but making sure you implement that and not sacrificing the teaching, the learning, the adding to the skill set. And I think that's the big thing. I don't want to say it's a worry, but it's a top priority whenever I talk to those top women's coaches about girls prep basketball.
I think it's the old chicken and egg analogy too, because you got to give them an opportunity to get experience.
Yeah.
You can't just expect them to have experience.
Yeah.
The one thing with the boys game, and it'll always be the case, the boys have as we've said numerous times, and certain guys have the peripherals that are just jumping off the page, and that, you look at them and they ooze with potential just strictly off of their physical attributes. The girls' game, on the other hand, and you watch even some of the most skilled female basketball players, are very fundamentally sound, right? You're not looking at girls who are 6'7", 6'8", and who are, bouncing, jumping out of the gym. That's not going to happen. So I think, in a way, the game is less, it's less sexy, if you will. It's less attractive in that sense. It's not as entertaining for those that don't appreciate the skill level that's required. Like, I think that's a big hurdle to overcome.
Yeah, and I don't know, because you can still make the argument that basketball is a blossoming sport in this country, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we don't have a large base that know and love the fundamentals of the game. They like seeing a nice dunk, and they like seeing an Andrew Wiggins being taken first overall, but they won't sit down to watch a game. I still have conversations with people when I talk about girls basketball, and they say, yeah, but nobody wants to watch a girls basketball game. And I'm like, you call yourself a basketball fan, eh? You're not. You're an NBA fan. You're an NBA fan that watches March Madness is what you are, right?
And that's the challenge. Still, at the end of the day, although there are more eyeballs consuming the sport of basketball, and there's more attention, more exposure, more money, more resources being devoted to it at every single level, it's still about the highlight.
Yeah.
It's still about the Steph Curry from the top of the circle, from the edge of the logo. It's DeMar DeRozan making a nice fancy dunk.
Yep.
And that's the reality of it, and that's why a guy like Andrew Wiggins can be drafted first overall. right? It's a lot of those factors, and it's unfortunate, but I think that's part of the reason why we see it today.
Yep. 12-point lead here with 15 seconds to go in the first half. Our final game of a 6-game set. We start things back up tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Running off the screen, Julius McGee. .36. Take a short break at halftime. We'll be back. Second half action of Game 6 of Day 1.
He'll go by you. Nice pass to Matthew Davies.
There's Daves. A little showtime from the Filipino wrecking machine. Matthew Daves. Oh, there's a nice move. This is what I've been waiting to see. Oh, Matthew Daves, solid bank. Lefty jumper.
There's that stroke we're talking about. He can really get it going from mid-range and from outside.
Oh, DeAndre Reed goes up. Dave's nice finish inside.
That's a dive. That's a dive.
And if you want to put together a Matthew Daves highlight reel, today's the day.
Makes him a real problem. There he is coming outside. Johnson just all over the floor today.
Didn't think he was going to make it. Didn't. Here's Johnson. He goes for the crossover spin move. Kind of that East Coast flavor. As Johnson goes inside, finishes.
A scoring guard. He could actually play a little bit of point. Nice move by Jared Johnson.
He's saying, don't hold for the last shot. We just need points.
Johnson. That is a weird form, but it goes.
In his style. Again.
Be in attendance over the course of the weekend. I mean, he had, what, 18 at halftime? 18 for off of it.
Nice move there by Montu. He finds Jared Johnson.
Quarter winds down.
Ooh. Nice.
In this event.
Yes, sir, he does. He needs guys.
Bang!
And the shot.
I didn't book it. Yo, let me shoot. He can't shoot. For their teams in big moments. Nice bounce pass right there by Jared Johnson.
Nice. 3
He's finding his guys.
3 goals.
Jared Johnson.
I'm Jacoby Neese, and I'm mic'd up for North Pole Hoops. Okay, Trey. Okay, Trey. Okay, Trey. Yeah! Let's go, man. Let's kill, man. Hey, prove a point right now. Number 1 in NBA right now. Big game. Let's go, man. Step on the ground.
Number 1 on 3. Number 1 on 3. 1, 2, 3. Number 1. Good.
Give me 3. Yes, sir. 34. On his head! Let's go, boy!
If you don't cut off the skip pass, if 2 guys are back, then talk. Then you come back.
Hey, we have to trap harder so he can't see that far pass.
Come on, get a quick breather. You're gonna finish here. Bring it in. Come on. What's up?
Hey, let's get a stop. Get pressure on him.
Are you pissed because I missed shots? Are your knees hurt or what's going on?
Nothing.
Live back at Crestwood Preparatory College. Halifax Prep trying to pull some magic out of the hat. Giving up so much size to this Toronto Basketball Academy. And that was before they added the 7-footer from Senegal in Demba Timbo. But I mean, you got to give it up to the Sevens. They've held it within single digits most of the first half. They're down 12 right now. Jared Johnson trying to get something going offensively.
And although he missed, that was a good, strong take, and you hope the next one will roll down for him.
You know, and I liken this a lot. I remember when I was covering CIS basketball back in early 2000s, calling some games in 2006, and that was really when I got my first taste. Amir Golizade, wet from range. Really when I got my first taste of the fact that, you know, back in those days, it was, you know, the AUS conference was, you know, they just got mauled by everybody else.
Yep.
But I mean, that's changed, right? But I mean,
absolutely.
Back in the day, it was like, what are these guys even doing in this league? You know, but still, people, you know, that was just, you know, fair weather fans. But I mean, people in the community never said, well, why do they even have a team out there? You know, they don't have the skill and stuff like that. And here we are 10 years later, and look how much things have changed. That's the same thing that's going to happen at the prep level.
I completely agree with you, and I would echo those sentiments even in my own experience. And, you know, you look at schools even in the OUA. I mean, the OUA, you know, within the youth sports, the whole
decades
complex, right? For decades, teams were never competitive. And now you got your Ryersons, you got your Carltons, and you have your Ottawas, and you know, and it's impressive to see how. And I think a program like Ryerson, in many ways, serves as a beacon of hope for a lot of the programs at any level that are trying to figure out, okay, how can we turn it around, or how can we really evolve and grow and get to a level where we can, compete for championships and bring in talent. And it really starts with the culture that you establish, and it takes time. It takes time to develop that. And I think that's a common denominator: time, patience, we go down to single digits, and you learn. You have different experiences and you learn from it. And a game like tonight, this Halifax team may not walk out with the victory. May not, they may not win this game, but they're gonna learn a lot from this experience, regardless of the outcome. And that's the point.
I remember back in those CIS days too. I mean, never thought, the prairies were a basketball hotbed. I go out there and it's still one of the best environments that I've ever called a game in. Was the University of Regina girls basketball. I mean, it was unbelievable, and 4,000 fans and loud, and It was absolutely crazy, and that's where I kind of just had, it's like, wow, you would think that, Prairies is all about hockey, but there's hotbeds all over this country that need to be explored, and they need to grow, and they need to have an opportunity to kind of play themselves to show people what can be done.
I think of schools like, whether it's, whether basketball or, let's use football as an example, but I think of schools like Manitoba, I think of schools like Regina, I think of schools like Calgary, schools like St. FX. A lot of these programs that the culture and the tradition, and just the appetite for that sport, and the love is so great that regardless of the outcome of what happens, it's something that's now ingrained within the community, and that's what really does make it special too. And it's interesting because even if you look at the youth sport landscape and you look at the OUA, and while there's been this transition now where the OUA has realistically, well, even Brock, you can throw Brock into the equation now, and they've had a fantastic transformation. We look at 3-4 teams that realistically are now championship national title contenders. Fact remains, basketball, I think, has an edge over some sports in terms of its ability to attract, audiences and things of that nature. But these schools were not regarded at no point as being these basketball institutions, right? Maybe with the exception of a Carleton that's had a more long-standing reputation. Yep. But aside from that, it's been relatively recent that we've had, these programs evolve, grow, develop even a fan base to a certain extent, and I think that's impressive. I think there's something to be said for that.
Well, without Carleton doing what they done with the Ottawa UGGs have, rose up themselves, right?
Sure.
They were getting tired of getting beaten on for so many different years, and look what has happened to them. They are competitive as well, and that's what we're just going to see at the high school level as well. That's why I was excited to see, this growth, and there's opportunity next year as well to grow to other provinces as well. Brian Toney checking back in from downtown. The lead is back down to single digits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really, that's the first ticky-tack foul that Halifax Prep has picked up, trying to defend the 7-footer Demba Timbo. And we've talked a lot about Halifax Prep. It's an opportunity for TBA as well to kind of get some minutes under their belt with their new 7-footer in the lineup. This is the first time they've been able to play with him out there.
Yeah, these are the opportunities, these are the moments where you want to, if you're TBA, the stuff that you harp on in practice, this is where you're, essentially putting it into practice, and you're trying to refine certain things. And for the coaching staff, I'm sure they were obviously thrilled that they walked away with a win this afternoon against GTA Prep, but you can go into that locker room, you could say, hey, these are the things we need to improve upon. Use it as a learning ground and an opportunity to improve upon what some of the deficiencies.
That was a pretty funny moment there where Ty Mergnaham, looked like he had an and one. They originally didn't count it. And Marcus Eaton just had a little look across to me saying, what? But being a young coach, he doesn't want to get in the official's ear. It took a second, and sure enough, the officials changed the call.
I like his demeanor as a young coach because I feel like, and I don't know, for whatever reason, but you got to walk a fine line.
Yeah.
As a young coach, whether that's justified or not, I don't know, but credit to him. He's in command of his team. And just from afar, he looks like a guy who really does have a grasp for what needs to be done here and how he can get this team to be competitive, even with an undermanned group, a shorter team, a team that lacks size.
And I really like to see somebody take advantage of an opportunity and see somebody make the most of a special point in his career. And Ryan Toney, who's led the way in the points total for Halifax Prep, doing just that. He hadn't even left his reserve up until this past summer. Yeah, That was a ridiculous foul.
Yep. No argument there.
Abdi Omar just completely worthless to pull on a jersey like that away from the ball.
I agree with that.
And now he's getting all upset as well. I mean, this is the type of stuff that, I know these are high school players, but you're being given an opportunity right now to play on this high level. Show the respect it deserves. That was silly foul. But I like the officials have this opportunity to call on sportsmanlikes now, you know what I mean? And so it's not just a foul. But just back to Ryan Toney. He's a senior, really had no opportunity until this year to get away from where he grew up. His mom didn't question it, just said go. And he doesn't know where this is going to take him after this season. Next level, is he going to have an opportunity? Who knows? But he's just living in the moment right now and enjoying what opportunity he's being given. And he tells me every day that every game that he has, everybody's watching back home, and it's an opportunity for him to inspire another generation.
I tell you what, that kid has character.
Absolutely.
That's. You don't hear those stories very often, as we have a wedgie.
Yeah, I know. I've called that out a couple of times, and no one else really gets it on this crew. So I appreciate you being along for it.
But absolutely, it's you don't hear those stories very often, and we come from a background. This is the other thing. I was going to mention it earlier, and it just popped into my mind again. But a program like Halifax Prep or an RNS that we saw earlier, these programs that are still in their infancy, still relatively new and fresh. It gives opportunity for kids. Maybe kids from the Quebec region, from the Ontario region, that, fall through the cracks.
And there's so many of them, man.
There are a ton of them. There are teams, there are teams that have 15 guys on their roster. 15.
Yeah.
How are you going to get your... And they're all... And for the most part, they all know how to play basketball.
Yeah.
There are... If you look even at the OSBA as an example, you look at teams that have guys paying thousands of dollars to play, to live, to room and board and all this stuff, to support the other kids who are being subsidized. And they don't play. They're not getting a legitimate opportunity. They're not getting a holistic experience, one they're going to remember for the rest of their life. It's just like, that's why these programs will make a difference and can live within that landscape. They can thrive within that landscape.
For every Lugansk Dort, there's 20 other guys who are good.
Absolutely.
Who could become that much better if they had an opportunity to play against another 20 guys. Yeah, I always use the old line, iron sharpens iron. And that's what I see in this opportunity in the NPA coast to coast.
You can only learn so much by practicing, training, watching, observing. There comes a point where you have to learn by doing. And that's one of the things that, unfortunately for some, they're not afforded that opportunity.
Timeout on the floor, 3:07 to go. 14-point lead. We'll be back.
You're good. Chill. Easy things. Okay, listen, you just came back off your knee issues. Okay, it's not going to be the easiest thing right now. Simple things. Good, Machi. Catch and shoot threes. Okay, attacking kicks, attacking floaters. Okay, you'll be all right. Let's go right now. Yeah, let's go. Hey, it won! Go up strong. When I go to the rim, they close and they space it. I was ready to shoot it. No, I mean like just a little more. Okay, I got you. Hey! Let's go, man. Good pick, boy. I need that lob to wake me up, bro. Oh my God. Yeah, don't leak. I know you would want to dunk. I would have done the same thing. But we gotta crash. They're crashing boards good. Let's go. Hey! Yes, sir. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. You fouling. Don't talk. I'm good. Don't talk to me, bro. Oh, yo. Are you crazy? What the is going on, boy? Bro, remember man, hit me in my face. I got it. I'm not letting that slide again. I'm getting it.
He appreciates it, but I don't, because look at him. He can take care of himself.
Here's our call. First one is a foul on the shot. Your guy gets 2 shots. The second one is 11. It's an unsportsmanlike technical. They hit him, so it's 2 more.
Okay.
Wow. 4. Let me hit 4, please.
Arc on your shot. Arc on your shot.
3:05 to go here in the third quarter. Julius McGee handing it off. Cairo Berry, one of the best full names in the NPA. Cairo Nucky Berry.
Love it.
From range as well, Brandon Muntu.
Look at Marcus Eden.
And sorry, it's Cairo Enoch. But I know Nucky is the nickname for Enoch, so still best full handle in the entire NBA. Although Isaiah Adebaboye is right up there as well.
Well, we've had a drama-filled day one here in this NPA session, so who's to say that Halifax Prep can't provide us with some more drama here?
Yeah, let's go over this day and see if I can remember who won.
All right, let's play a game.
Crestwood and Beast. I know Crestwood came out on top in that one because Franco Miller just went off for 30 points. After we tally up all the stats from today, I think he's going to be near a triple-double in that first game. He was outstanding.
Absolutely. Check mark.
Central Tech, Saint Laurent came out on fire in that game. Central Tech easily ended up winning it. TBA, GTA Prep. That was a TBA win.
Correct.
GTA Prep didn't have the best game that I've seen from AJ Lawson. Sat him through a lot of that third quarter. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back tomorrow. Beast, RNS, another great game. RNS looked like they were going to take that one home, but Beast instead split their day, picking up a win. LBA Crestwood, we just finished that one off. That was an outstanding contest.
That was a doozy.
Crestwood ended up winning that after just that entire game. There's about 4 different mini storylines as we have a 2-year-old running down the sideline. And TBA Halifax Prep is where we are right now, and it's a 15-point lead for TBA as they look to go 2-0 on the day. And I'm looking ahead to tomorrow. We start up again. Crestwood with the early game taking on Saint Laurent. I could get ugly quick. Saint Laurent's going to have to really come out stepping on the gas. I mean, the one thing you could see is that Crestwood played 2 today and obviously took a lot out of them late.
It's going to be a tough one, though, tomorrow morning. I mean, that is the early game. If you're Saint Laurent, you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, maybe you get a fatigued Crestwood team, and that's provides you with a bit of an edge, but that's going to be a tough one.
And you got Beast GTA Prep, so will that be the AJ Lawson redemption game?
Obviously, today wasn't the best showing for AJ Lawson, but at the same time, one of the things that, even watching him through that struggle today, and it was a struggle, his demeanor, he's unflappable.
No, yeah.
Right? He's just
short memory.
He keeps going. He battles, and miss the one shot. Okay, focus on the next one. And so he's got that mentality. I fully expect him to perform at a high level tomorrow.
Saint Laurent gets back onto the floor tomorrow, taking on this Halifax Prep squad. So that'll be 2 Northeast Division teams.
That's a game that, don't sleep on. I mean, I don't want to say it, but don't sleep on Halifax Prep, because the way Saint Laurent played today, you never know. You never know. So
that's gonna be 2 teams hungry for wins, because both of them are gonna be winless at this point on their early NPA season.
Well, hey, now we still got 1 quarter.
No, good point. 17 seconds to go. Then we got RNS and Central Tech, which will be a good game as well. 4 p.m. Crestwood back on the floor.
Interesting subplot with the Central Tech game. We'll see if Matthew Daves will play.
Yep, same with DeAndre Reed.
Missing a pair of their starters. And Raheem Sullivan, man, he was fantastic today. And he's a special player. He's a senior guard. Runs the show for them. Kevin Jeffers coached team, and they're always sharp.
two teams that we're going to get in tomorrow. CTA and SJK play at 5:45, and then this TBA squad takes on LBA for the late game tomorrow. Well, Brandon Mutu has to be happy with his individual performance and leads at 11. Don't tune away. We still got a game here. 11-point lead. We'll be back in about 55 seconds.
Nova Scotia has a lot of basketball history, and Halifax Prep is adding a new chapter as the province's first prep program. The NPA's youngest head coach, Marcus Eaton, is working alongside the team's founders to use the Maritimes' working class mentality as the team's on-court identity.
We can ball with anyone in the country. When I played basketball when I was younger, there was nothing like this. I don't even think I knew about prep school, right? And it was happening all over the country and in North America. But now that we have it here in Halifax, it's exciting. I'm very excited. We're always going to have Nova Scotians on our team, but we don't have big players. We don't have any 6'5", 6'6" guys. It's 1 in a million kind of thing. So it's really that grit, that heart, right? And they never give up. It's a never give up attitude over there in Nova Scotia.
We have to play with heart and give it everything we got every time we step on the court. We have to use our speed to our advantage. A lot of kids looked up to us, and then they see us playing at a higher level, and then
78-67. We're in the fourth quarter. Head coach Adil Saibzada still using this as a teaching point for his TBA squad, still barking out orders from the sidelines. Wants to see his team execute. You know, Halifax Prep playing some solid D here, forcing them out to the perimeter. They just need to be able to defensive rebound as well, or else those defensive stops aren't going to help. There's Ryan Toney leaking out.
TBA wasn't always the powerhouse that it is, and didn't always have the wealth of talent that it has now, and certainly didn't always produce collegiate level players as it did with Cordell Vieira last year and the NPA alumnus. It obviously started as BTB, and credit to Coach Adil. I don't want to butcher his last name. I have a lot of respect for the man. I've actually coached against him myself, and he's quite the coach. He's grown and evolved and matured a lot over the years, and you can see him very animated. But he gets into his players.
That's because Brandon Mutu is putting on a show from range right now.
It's a 10-point game.
Timeout. TBA wants to talk it over. Coach Saibzada is going to tear a strip off his boys.
Then the sky's the limit for them.
Like any basketball program, recruiting players from outside the province is important. And in their debut season, Brandon Mutu from Calgary, Alberta made the move out east, surprising many in his hometown.
They were kind of shocked at first because they were like, you know, why move? You can just stay in the city. But like, I thought it was best for me and also for my family that I move out of the city and try to do a lot more things in my basketball career as well. It was kind of different moving from a winning team. It's good to win games, but at the same time, if you're not losing games, you're not learning from your mistakes.
Bringing a Brandon Mutu in really elevated our team, and that really elevated Nova Scotia, to be honest with you, because no really outsiders come to Nova Scotia to play basketball.
Having Brandon come play from Calgary in Nova Scotia, it really elevated our level of play because all across Canada, basketball is played differently.
Me staying in Canada was just like a good decision for me, and you know, a perfect fit than just going down south and play basketball down there.
This program.
Back live, 10-point lead. We got a 7-second violation. Hey, I'm impartial because I'm a broadcaster. But if you're watching, I mean, you have to sort of be cheering on this Halifax Prep team right now. I'm not.
Partiality.
I'm saying you should.
I'm silent. I'm not going to say
I'm saying
because
you
know.
should.
You already know. But no, that you know, credit to Halifax Prep and that press, that 1-3-1 that they're deploying. It's been very effective. You know, and if they are able to get a stop here, hopefully get it get it to singles, and then we're maybe looking at a game down the stretch.
Foul on the floor.
And Jaron Johnson just hasn't been right tonight. You can see he's stretching out his shoulder, and he's going to check back in right now. Marcus Eaton going to put him back into the game and hopefully get a spark, because he can certainly provide one. And if there's any time, it's now. And how about Tony with the rebound?
We got numbers.
Oh, beautiful. You got to love that.
Lefty off glass.
Oh, but he slips on a bit of a wet spot there. And you don't want to see that. For a guy who's played so well, that's, especially tonight, that's a disappointing injury to see happen on a freak accident along the baseline. Coaches and medical personnel taking a look and see what type of pain he's in. Certainly some discomfort, but it looks like he might want to try and shake that off. Hope he's okay.
It's been a trouble spot right there, right where the inbounds happen on the baseline. I think it's just people profusely sweating in that area. TBA is trying to create a poster. We haven't had one today. We've had some nice finishes. We've had some nice blocks, but, you know, no body bags have been brought out. But TBA is trying to give us one before we wrap things up.
I doubt we'll see one. I really do.
Well, I mean, yeah, Halifax Prep, they're not going to go down. They're not going to go down easy. Nope. They're maybe not going to jump with you, but they're not just going to let you embarrass them either.
No, I don't believe in the athleticism of this TBA team. I just don't. I don't. Point blank, I don't. I mean, they're an athletic group. I don't like to see. It'll happen organically. Don't force it. Don't force the issue. Right.
I like it. The truth, Daniele. 7:48 to go. Timeout for Halifax Prep. Ryan Toney looking to work things off on the bench there. Stay with us. We'll be back.
It's a unique opportunity for the team's lone senior, a member of the Mi'kmaq tribe, Ryan Toney, who until this season had never lived off of his reserve, the Eskazoni First Nation in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, where involvement in any sport at a young age can be a life-changing decision.
As a kid, I was in ballet, tap dance, gymnastics, soccer, football. Just wanted to play basketball. Nobody was as good to play and look up to. And I have a little brother. We're starting to be like the role models now. We're making basketball big in my community. It's real special to me. It makes me feel confident in what I want to do, because after playing basketball a couple of years, I want to go back home and build this basketball bigger in my community and even all around Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. I feel like I could be a big inspiration into all the little kids back home.
Taking a look there at the program feature on Halifax Prep. You're watching them live right now. Jaron Johnson playing through a little bit of an injured wing out there. Nice save.
No way.
I agree, no way, but if anyone was going to hit that today, it was going to be Brandon Muntu, who's just been raining it down from range.
No, he's been unconscious. He's had an excellent game here tonight.
Halifax Prep down just 9. Oh,
getting his hand
in. Yeah.
Short. Good rebound by Johnson. Oh, and he slips. We've seen a lot of wet spots, it seems like, on the floor. That's dangerous.
I can promise you that will not be a problem tomorrow.
It's part of the conversation we were having earlier about what this Halifax program represents and its significance and providing opportunities to players, both homegrown and, you know, foreign players coming from other provinces. We look at a guy like Brandon Muntu, he's been fantastic tonight. And he gets an opportunity because he comes to a program like this, that although it's, you know, it's being developed from the ground up, it's still providing him with an outlet to showcase his skill set, play against some of the top competition that's out there. Maybe something that he otherwise would not have been exposed to had he stayed in Calgary and played against a different level of competition or a different high school system. So I think that's also an important side note as you watch Brandon Muntu put up some fantastic numbers tonight for Halifax Prep. The officials doing their best to clean up some of the wet spots on the court.
That was an uncalled lane violation for sure. Chad Vincent fell over onto his hands and said, "Oh no," while the free throw was going up.
Chad Vincent, the veteran. He knew it was a lane violation.
Yep, he's been around long enough.
Oh, that's for sure.
Tough pass. Muntu was turning around the opposite way.
TBA letting Halifax Prep hang around.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're giving him opportunities and missed free throws, and here there's an errant pass, and if you convert a couple of, here's another turnover. You got to convert some of these into points, and we have a game. Johnson trying to do too much.
Oh
my!
Still, I mean, that's a goaltend.
Yeah, might have got away with one there.
Yeah.
There's Marcus Eaton. He's arguing. Johnson might have caught a break there, though. He tried to be a little too cute with it. Split a couple of defenders after the screen, and fortunate to result in another possession for Halifax.
Another foul on the floor.
What do you think for TBA, Jason, when you watch TBA play? They're a team that obviously has aspirations of being, a part of the upper echelon of the NPA and competing for a title. When you watch them play, what do you think is the one area or maybe a couple different areas, where do they need to improve?
Well, I think their transition game is strong, as Golizade finds Patrick Emilian for the rim visit. Wow. Brandon Muntu is having himself a little coming out party. He tweeted out.
Good D. Oh, give him some love.
He tweeted out early in the new year that you were going to be hearing his name a lot in 2018 so far. 3.5 quarters into his 2018 career, he has delivered.
And deservedly so. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I know. TBA is a strange team for me because, like, in transition, they're outstanding. I don't always know what offense they run. I know I know they have long practices. I know the practices are good. I know that they run a lot of sets in those practices. I just don't know if I always see that translating to the floor in a game.
I agree with you on that front.
But I don't know why that is, right? Like I don't understand why. If they could put it all together at the right time and be that team. I mean, last year I thought they were that team, and they ended up losing to LBA in the semis in a heartbreaking loss.
Do you think they're missing? Obviously, I mean, replacing a player like Cordell Vieira is. I mean, it goes without saying it's nearly impossible to make up for a guy who not only provided so much on the court, but leadership-wise, he did so many different things behind closed doors, and that team last year really felt, when you watch them and you see that they operated as a collective unit. I mean, you think, how are they able to replace a guy like that? Do you feel like they're still feeling the effects of maybe not having a leader, a bona fide leader, a guy who's in control, in command of, and has a great. I mean, the other thing that I think goes unnoticed is Cordell Vieira and Coach Adil. I mean, they have such a fantastic relationship. I think that kind of flies under the radar a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, he's brought in Marcus Masters, who is obviously a great point guard. Are they missing that connection? Maybe that connection will come as the months progress. I know they've had Goizade, Tarek Issa, Patrick Emilian. Those guys kind of been waiting in the wings to take the added minutes and the responsibilities of that leadership that was lost with Cordell Vieira.
Well, and also, even not just heap praise on Cordell Vieira, but even a guy like Jace Cawley.
Yeah, no, Jace Cawley was huge.
He was huge for them, and they had been together for a number of years, and I think that's also significant.
No, I completely agree, and I know, how do you duplicate that? I don't know if you can. They still have the pieces if they can put it all together in time for nationals.
Well, they certainly do.
Yep.
They definitely do. They have all the, talent-wise, they're there.
Now, I think maybe the one thing that, I say interchangeable pieces, but the other way to say that is, do they have too many of the same player? That could be another one, right? Maybe with a guy like Demba Timbo coming in, he gives them something that they obviously have never had, with a legit 7-footer playing in the middle, allowing these incredibly long wings to play more of their natural position.
One of the things I'd be curious to know, when you look at, they bring in a guy who's an international foreign prospect. I think one of the reasons maybe there was some intel, and I don't know this for fact. I'm just speculating, and maybe maybe there's actual reason to believe that this could be possible. But Coach Adil is an assistant on the staff at Ryerson University. Ryerson recently this year brought in their first ever foreign prospect in Tanner Nagom, who's a 7-footer, and I believe he's also from, he's from the Senegal area, I believe. And maybe that's part of the process, and that assistant, and being able to bring in a guy like this.
Possibly, yeah.
There's some intel there. You communicate with Roy Rana, and you go through the appropriate channels, and not everybody has those resources at their disposal.
Yep. No, you're right.
Oh, here we go.
Deal got the warning. Coach Saibzada.
So Halifax Prep hanging around. If they can convert here, you get it down to maybe a couple possession game. If there's any time for Jaron Johnson to come up big, it would be now. He loses it.
.235 to go. Halifax Prep has laid it all on the line here in order to keep it in single digits. They need a couple of stops and a couple of big shots.
That's a tough shot. Wanted a foul call, but didn't look like much contact, if any.
Golizade has been pulling up from deeper and deeper, and he's hit a couple, but... Ooh, Ryan Toney. That would have been big. Chad Vincent now running out of room on that baseline. Demba Timbo gets it. They're going to hack him hard. Battles through it. Basket in the bump.
This has been far from a complete performance for TBA.
Yep.
This has not been necessarily impressive on their end. There's been a lot of sloppy basketball. And we talked about the disparity in talent, and I think that's, it's a 10-point game, but Halifax Prep, I mean, what can you say? Tip your cap and really give them a lot of credit, because they've fought, they've battled, despite the size disadvantage. I mean, they've really found a way to stay competitive tonight.
Yeah, I've liked the game plan. The game plan has been, don't pick up worthless fouls. Get your body into them. Allow them, because TBA's been kind of going to the rim looking for contact. Halifax Prep has almost pulled away, if anything, and allowed them, to have, free reign in the air at least, but they haven't really been able to pull away and finish.
They've been very intelligent fouls.
Yes, no, exactly, and so they had to be smart that way, because when you're only running 9 guys out there.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier as well, and even in terms of how to defend these bigger bodies, and when you're going 9 deep, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough, and they're fortunate that they got Jaron Johnson back, because you lose a guy like that, and not just he's not just any other player, he's a guy who's a difference maker for them. You lose somebody that you lean on, and then you're down to 8. And then it's hard to say, okay, we can be physical, So they've done a great job of battling. And it's been Brandon Muntu who's been fantastic for them.
Looking to get it in the post. Muntu.
Oh wow!
Off glass on the turnaround, and Marcus Eaton's telling his team to get up.
Some confusion. Timeout?
Yeah, timeout by Coach Adil Saibzada. Up 10, 1:21 to go. Stay with us. We'll be back with the conclusion of this game.
Ouch! Ouch! That one hurt my soul. That one hurt on the inside.
Here's Mr. Akot, goes right down the lane with the slab. It's in running. Here's Akot.
Euro step.
Akot dancing on him.
Ooh, wow. Smooth.
Akot. Wow.
Another one.
And that is a big-time shot by Luel Akot. We were talking about little victories. Amir Golizade from range put to 13. I think right now it's Halifax Prep just want to get this back to single digits.
I have no idea why he shot that. I have no idea.
He's been doing it. He's been doing it all game.
He made it. I have no idea how, in God's name, that is a good shot.
He's been doing it. I think he's just trying to set a personal record possibly, because he's just dropping them from deep. And just like that, it leads back up to 16 back-to-back threes. And Marcus Eaton's coaching all the way to the end.
Oh, I don't think
picked up a tee.
It's the first time we've seen him get a little bit animated in terms of getting on the officials, and we're applauding him earlier and being very energetic and enthusiastic, especially with his players, and being very calm and collected with the officials. But it caught up to him there.
Halifax Prep coming together, having a little conversation.
24 on the shot clock. Reset. You got front and back.
Then Batimbo out of bounds off Ryan Toney. Coach Zaibzada coaching down to the final seconds. That's why we love him. Stay with us, 36 seconds to go.
Everyone has their story. What's yours? Were you born with the ball in your hands? Or were you a late bloomer? Are you a dead-eye shooter? Or a high flyer?
Throws up an alley-oop! All elbow! Williams!
Are you a leader? Or an elite role player? North Pole Hoops wants to know, what's your story?
We're back for the conclusion of this one. Halifax Prep kept it to single digits through most of the game, battling back after they fell down by 10 or more. Now facing a 16-point deficit. Keeping the pressure on defensively.
If you're Marcus Eaton, why not?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Why not?
You're never going to be able to recreate, game speed, right?
100%. They held it to single digits for most of the game. Even when it did get above, 10 or more, get into that double-digit territory, they found a way to battle back. They've certainly, I think the final score is not going to be reflective of just how competitive this game was and how much of a fight this Halifax Prep team put up tonight.
Absolutely. Bring down the offensive rebound. Going to roll out the clock. 103-86 TBA is the final. We wrap up our 6-game schedule. Tomorrow we start up at 9 a.m. bright and early. Make sure you join us. For everybody here putting on this tournament, everyone on the broadcast crew, for Daniele Franceschi, Jason Tom signing off. Thank you for joining us. The National Preparatory Association on NorthPoleHoops.com.